One. What's up, everyone? Coach Tony here. In this training, we're going to break down UC Augmented Review 101. If you haven't heard of that concept before, it's something that's not super widely known, but it happens. And there's something into this training. We're going to break down what this is number one. And if you do get to be augmented reviewed, what should you do, and some pro tips to kind of maximize this opportunity again if you are in this position. If it's our very first time meeting, my name is Coach Tony. I'll be one of your experts here on this call today. I've done UC admissions now for over 16 years, starting graduate from Berkeley, and I became a reader with them, which meant when people applied to Berkeley, I was one of the people behind the scenes who recommended yes and no to students. So that doing that, read over 20,000 applications. You start to understand what really is important in the admissions process and not what's not as important too. And the topic tonight is actually something that comes as a part of the reading process itself that not a lot of people are aware of until they actually get that opportunity there. I actually have a co-host for here today, so I'm gonna go ahead and let him introduce himself, and we'll go ahead and get started there.
Hey everyone, Coach Victor here. If it's our first time meeting, welcome. And also for those who are working with me, again, really excited to be able to talk to you. Augmented Review is also something dear to me just because I always actually got into Berkeley through Augmented Review. So that's something that we're going to share in terms of the process of how I kind of went through that and also how others can kind of strategize for that. In terms of my background, I went to UC Berkeley for undergrad and graduate school, and that's actually where I met Coach Tony doing college admissions together. And also, fun fact, I went to UC Berkeley on a full ride scholarship for both undergrad and graduate school. So really excited to kind of share what are the tips and strategies to be able to do that. Also, throughout my entire time of my career, worked on education policy, whether that's the K through 12, higher education, and also within city government. And also we're used to work in tech as well. So I worked in a lot of different capacities. But overall, made a round trip back to college admissions, thanks to Coach Tony. So super excited to be able to work with y'all here today. And I'm going to pass it back to Coach Tony.
Awesome. Really quick, let me go ahead and share my screen. I see people are joining in. We have over 140 people here. Go ahead in the chat. Let me know what grade you guys in. Drop a 12 if you're a 12th grade family right now. Drop 11th graders, 10th, ninth for ninth. If you're a middle school family, you're starting kind of early here, go ahead and drop the 6, 7, 8s in the chat. And if you're a community college student, this could apply to you as well too. Drop a double C, CC Community College, to help you guys with that here. Okay. So in this training, so first off, before we dive into augmented review itself, one thing that we're gonna have available to you guys for those who are interested is Coach Victor kind of knows what he's talking about. I kind of know what I'm talking about, and hopefully in the next 20, 30 minutes, you guys will see that. If anyone is not yet part of our coaching program and curious and want to book a free 15-minute coaching call, it's not a sales call. We're not going to sell you anything on this call. Actually, you can't even buy anything on this call. We just want to help you guys out where you guys are on this journey and then help you guys out. For any of our seniors who are here, your college journey pretty much is almost done. But if you guys are interested in financial aid, that's also one of the arms that we have in our company. If you're interested in financial aid, I know the FAFSA just rolled out. Some of you guys who are joining me live just came from our previous training on FAFSA. So if you guys are interested, again, you can definitely let us know. But again, by the end of the call, if you guys want to book a 15-minute call, you can let us know in the chat. Go to the website, text the word coach to a number that probably you guys got sent here from, and then we can definitely get you guys connected there. Also, if you want the notes for this call, just text notes as well too. We'll grab you that. Okay, let's go ahead and dive straight in. So let's talk about, so if you're new here, we usually go a little bit of theory first, and then we'll go dive into the actual topic so you guys can see where does it fit into the bigger picture of everything. So again, the UC Augmented Review is a special application not everyone will get, right? So let's talk about it first, and we'll talk about it in the context. So zooming out a little bit, let's talk about the UC application timeline. So I look at the chat right now. I see we have a lot of mix of grades, right? We have some 12th graders who are basically are done, right? As of today, December 3rd, you guys are done with your apps. And then we have some younger ones, right? Some 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th graders, who this is something you got to be preparing for in the next few years. So let's kind of zoom back. Seniors, you can kind of like reminisce the first few things and then kind of know exactly, kind of foreshadowing what's coming up next for you guys. I have Coach Victor here with me. Like we shared, both of us graduated from Berkeley, and the timeline has not changed for all these years. It's pretty much the same thing. So, Coach Victor, when does the UC application officially open every single year?
August 1st.
August 1st. So every single year, the UC app opens, UC application opens. So for any of our juniors right now, if you're a junior, keep in mind August 1st, they'll come up with a new application. A little bit of spoilers for everyone. The app doesn't really change. Like I think every year we've caught like one or two tiny cosmetic changes. Like I think this year they changed on the first page, they changed the word from like preferred name to live name. And that was it. And the year before that, they moved the question about finances from the end to the beginning. And that's it there as well, too. So for the most part, UC apps don't really have dramatic changes year after year. So a lot of our juniors, if you look up the UC app today, is pretty much what you're going to see next year as well, too. There's no planned big changes, at least for a few more years. So you're pretty safe looking at that. Okay. So the UC app opens. Coach Victor, can we apply? Like if that's where you finish the app on August 1st, can we click submit right away on August 1st?
No, so there is a particular time frame where you have to submit. Usually it's between October 1st and November 30th. This year was like the first time where they actually extended it to December 3rd. Third? Second? No,
That's
second. That was
second.
just
Yeah.
yesterday.
Yeah. So usually October 1st to November 3rd is the pool where you can submit. So those of you who are really like on it, you can submit as early as October 1st. Latest, typically, again, is November 3rd. This year's a little different. Like Coach Victor mentions, a little different this year. They actually extended it to December 2nd, which is yesterday. So again, hopefully you guys are done because you cannot submit late to the UC app. So that's that there. And hopefully, again, a lot of you guys didn't apply second because the system crashes every single year too. So that's that. So that's the first one you can apply there. Just again, pro tip, right? Pro tip for seniors is you guys are done. Juniors and younger folks, right? There's no real significant advantage to applying on October 1st. So could you do it? You can, just to be like peace of mind. That's the perk you get. But for the most part, the biggest thing is going to be we like to recommend our families apply late October, early November if you can. That's like the ideal timeline. The reason why that's when readers actually start learning how to read to you could be trained for the upcoming back. So if you're October 1st, it just means you're just hanging out there and your app is waiting in limbo for the readers to start reading towards the halfway through this period as well. They don't read in order either. So it's not like if you apply first, you're the first one to get read. Think of it, the best analogy is think of a washing machine. When you throw stuff in a washing machine, if it's the first thing you throw in, it might go around for a long time. You might grab it first, right? But there's a chance it might not be read first either. So keeping that in mind as well. Okay. So
Awesome.
so that's the timeline. What's next? Basically, it's a waiting game, right? It's a waiting game after this. Coach Victor, when should our seniors expect to kind of hear back from the UCs?
Yeah. Also, before we go into that, too, something to add. Try not to submit on the last day, just because you never know if the website might crash. So just FYI, try to avoid that, just because there could be instances where there's just way too many students logging on. So hence, try to submit it at least a few weeks before. In regards to when you'll be able to figure it out, that's where you will typically hear back in March.
Typically hear back in March. So the UCs are pretty consistent on their things. So you'll see like all of them release on this a set date per school. So like I know Berkeley is always like the last one to do, and usually like the previous last one, I think usually the 26th, 28th or something, one of those days. You'll hear it always spreads somehow in the forums, and then so you'll probably hear that. And usually that day is a series of like really, really happy families, like, oh, we got in, super exciting there. So yeah, you'll be here sometime in March as well. There are instances where you can actually hear earlier than March. Victor, can you share a little bit more about that? For there, okay, not everyone's gonna find out earlier, but there are a group of people that may find out earlier. Can you share a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so typically in January and February is where if you qualify for a UC Regent scholarship, then that's where you would be able to hear back. And so, yeah, during this time, they'll probably be able to give you some more information. And also, uh, is this where they would typically be able to ask for more additional information, Coach Tony?
Yeah, so with the regions, yeah, exactly what Coach Victor said. So basically, you'll be finding out if you're a region scholar. So region scholar is a special scholarship. It's purely merit, right? Not income, it's pure merit. So just to give you guys context from a reader's point of view, if I'm reading apps, we were told if you think the student you're reading is the top 1 or 2% of all the students you read, then those are the ones you recommend for the regions. The readers don't give the regions. We recommend it. It goes to a different pool, which is the regions committee. The regions committee will go through the apps and they will finalize their batch, right? So like Coach Victor mentioned, you'll hear back in January, February. They're gonna tell you, hey, you got in. Do you want to qualify for the full ride itself of the regions? And that's gonna be what the regions is as well too. So then not everyone's gonna get it. I was not regions there, but I think a lot of our friends were regions that we were hanging out with. I think a lot of our roommates were all like region scholars as well too, which is crazy. It just means like they were like deemed the top from their class, which is insane as well too. Cool. So, but again, that's small, super small group, right? Majority of us will hear back. I found out in March myself, right? Coach Victor. So let's say our seniors find out in March, they know all decisions. What happens usually in April?
Yeah, so during the time of April, that's where during they'll try to be able to reach out to you and try to get you to say yes to their school. So essentially, this is where they do their outreach and recruitment efforts. So sometimes they have these events where they recruit students onto their campus and try to see if they can encourage them to SIR or to submit their intent for registration there. And so that's actually where me and Coach Tony, we were, I believe that's what our first times of being able to be in the same space
Yeah.
together because we both got invited to that kind of weekend in the past. And so UC Berkeley has it, UCLA has it, and other campuses as well.
Exactly. Yeah. So these are special events they host. You also kind of know them as overnight stay programs, overnight host programs. We went to an event called Senior Weekend at Berkeley. LA has one too. I forget what they're called. Something weekend as well too. But the whole idea is that in the month of April, you are in the driver's seat now, right? The colleges were you were fighting for their spot, and now that you got in, they're fighting for your spot. Because again, behind the scenes, you guys understand they want to keep the rates super high. If they, what ideally is they want to brag, if we give 10 acceptances, all 10 came back to our school. That's kind of the logic of it. So again, no school wants like I gave out 1,000 letters and only like 10 people want to come to my school. That's probably not a great look for them for prestige reasons, right? So that's why you see a lot of folks they kind of revamp, right? They have a lot of these efforts. They'll fly. I think for us, we got paid to no, we get paid, but they paid to fly us to Berkeley and bring us there and give us all the things as well. Everything was paid for. Some of these programs are paid that you will pay to get to them as well too. But that's kind of what yield season is. So the month of April, you'll be kind of basically comparing. It's a really fun month for our coaching families inside our program. Is that's the month that we're like, all right, we celebrate with our students and help them figure out what's the best fit for them. Because by that time, you have like choices now, right? You have choices, and you're like, okay, which ones are the ones that I want to go to? And you this one you figure out financial aid, what packages are really good, and all the other things that come with it too. Okay.
Yeah,
So
and on top of that, so this is usually where you also like just figure out like the cost to be able to attend these schools, right? You don't realize that you do get scholarships by the normal application process as well. Yes, you might find out if you're a Regent Scholar back in January or February, but also in April, you'll see that with your acceptance letter, you'll be able to kind of compare the costs. And April's like kind of the time where you kind of like are choosing. And also, you're one of our coaching families. We're there to kind of help you understand like what's the out-of-pocket cost after you do all the calculations yourself. And also, this is the best time to actually advocate for yourself in terms of being able to get a better financial aid package. So, for example, this is actually what I did. So, fun fact here. So the scholarship that I had way back then that got me a full ride to Berkeley, one of the things is that they only enabled one student out of each school in from Eastside Union High School District in San Jose to be able to get this scholarship. They don't have it anymore, so sorry, it's not going to be useful for your information to look that up. But at the very least, right, they already gave that scholarship to someone, right? And so I wasn't chosen actually. They gave it to one of my friends who was actually a childhood friend, and I was like, "Oh, congratulations!" But damn. But then what I did though was that towards the end of April, I actually reached out to the scholarship organization and be like, hey, is there any flexibility for y'all to kind of accept like one more student, right? And believe it or not, they said yes, right? And the reason for that is because these students, right, they might have gone to UCLA. So, or they've gone to some other school. So the key here is that they set aside scholarship money for students, right? And it's assuming that these students will actually enroll at their school. So a pro tip is that towards the end of April, if you apply to any scholarships, reach out to the organizations or the scholarships that you apply to and request to see if, hey, do you have any of that additional flexibility? That is going to, the worst they can say is no, right?
Mhm.
But you never know that it can lead to something. And because think of it this way, if someone is offered a scholarship, but they don't take it, where does that money go to, right? They want to give it to somebody to make college more affordable. So they can either save it for next year or they can just give it to someone right then and there. So that's where you can take advantage of that opportunity there.
I love it. Again, this is like we're going a little tangent now on like a scholarship kind of topic. But again, that's part of the admissions journey, right? Part of it is the college side, which is the getting into school, and the other side is can we afford how, or the other question is how do we afford to pay for college itself, right? So yeah, so that's basically April's month here. And then Coach Victor, when do students need to like lock in their decision officially?
May 1st.
May
So
1st.
May 1st is the deadline for the UCs to SIR.
Because it's a deadline for all schools as well too. So any school you end up going to, and
Oh,
just for seniors to have some clarity on it as well too, you'll let that one school know that you're going to their school by you'll pay a deposit. You'll pay a deposit to be like, hey, I'm gonna commit to your school. I think it's like a few $100s, right? You pay a deposit there, then basically, and you're good, right? Every school that you didn't put deposit to, they're gonna assume that you didn't go there, so you didn't pick a school. So again, the most important thing, make sure you SR to at least one school on May 1st, because by May 2nd, they assume, hey, this student didn't put a deposit down, they chose somewhere else, and you don't want to be that awkward student that like, oh no, I forgot, and then now you have nobody, even though you did all the hard work and you got in, but you didn't just do that. So definitely, again, definitely SR to that one school, again, play a deposit. Then that'll also open up. This is something a different. This is a little segue a little bit for seniors because we have a lot of seniors here in the chat. So, Coach Victor, what else do students kind of seniors do? So after they say yes, do you remember kind of what other things students will probably be doing in May and June of basically leading out of high school in terms of the college admissions process, the college going to process?
yeah. Are you thinking about in terms of like how to
I'm thinking
prepare
like
and
I'm thinking like housing and food meal plans and all that stuff.
right. So, typically during this time is once you've kind of made the decision to SIR, the next piece is like determining like, okay, what does that transition actually look like? And so, these schools will typically let you know ahead of time of what's the kind of breakdown cost or what's the expected cost,
Hmm.
and then they'll let you know of like, hey, um, and the expected costs usually are a lot higher than what you actually need to budget for, just to be
Right.
warned, all right? They always want to try to make sure that you're conservative in your estimates for how much to prepare for college. And typically, a majority of the cost goes towards housing.
Hmm.
And dorms, for example, is where it gets really costly, and you'll be able to choose which kind of dorm or which kind of like housing situation that you want to live in. And so during that time, that's where you're able to kind of determine the logistics about that transition. Coach,
Love it.
anything you want to add there?
No, that's pretty much that's the big cost, right? The big variable is gonna be your choice of like where do you want to live. Meal plans is part of that as well too. How often you want to eat per day or per week. Every school's again, and every school's different, right? So there's no kind of blanket answer because I know like for example, I think Berkeley does it like money where like each meal costs like X points. So I don't remember the number anymore, but like let's say 6 points for lunch, 8 points for dinner, for example. So if you think about like $6 for lunch, it's probably way more than that, but that's the math. Some schools I know is like just per swipe. So each swipe you have to go and eat. So every school's a little different. Again, this is when you get to like discover, hey, here's what I want to do, and this and that. Again, different talk, different day. If you guys are interested in this type of stuff, let us know. We can definitely prioritize it in a future training. But to kind of put us back on track again, right? So this is pretty much what senior year will look like for a typical high school senior, right? So app opens August 1st. You guys will be applying and submitting between October 1st and November 30th. Usually, again, this year was a little different, but next year will probably go back to November 30th. And then you'll hear back in March, right? Unless you're one of the Regents finalists, and you'll probably hear back a little earlier. But typically, you'll find out in March. And then in March, you'll find out in April, you get to like, you're the celebrity. You get to pick and choose where you want to go. And by May 1st, you're going to lock in what school you're ending up at, right? So that's kind of basically senior year in a nutshell. So where does this again, the topic today isn't senior year. Topic today is going to be, the topic today is going to be, where is it? Augmented review, right? So what is augmented review itself? So I'll share this from a reader's point of view. A lot of people won't admit this, but this is kind of literally what happens. So what augmented review is that certain students, not every student, certain students will get the opportunity to add more information to their application, right? You'll typically find out if you get this in December. Well, usually December, maybe January, but typically December, sometimes in January. And that's pretty much it. And that's that, right? Not everyone will. Just to give you guys little spoilers, if you get it, right? If you get it, it means you're in the maybe pile. So no one will admit that. I'll let you guys know. All the students I've learned had it was all in the maybe pile. So that means you weren't a yes. At the same time, you weren't a no, right? So you are the maybe. That's why they need more information to push you either yes or more information to push you to the no. That's pretty much what it is as well, too, right? And keep in mind, for those who want a fun little lesson, when it comes to the UC admissions process, when they read your application, they put you in 3 buckets, right? The first bucket is strongly recommend. Strongly recommend means we really like this student. The students are really, really strong. Basically, think of it as a yes, right? A yes student there. So that's that. That's a small group. I think it's like 15%. Small group of people there, right? The other extreme is we used to call it no. People got sad. So it's now called don't recommend, right? Don't recommend now. That's basically a no, right? Majority of students will fit this bucket, which is I think 60-70%, right? Will fit this big bucket right here of no's. And then there's a bucket in the middle. It used to be called maybe. Now it's called recommend, right? The maybe pile. And that's where a lot of these students will be pulled from for augmented review itself. Because again, I have to push you toward a yes so I can figure out yes you're in, or I need to push you to a no to kind of like, no. It's always weird to be in limbo, right? So with that, with the UC Augmented Review, you'll find out. They'll let you know in your portal. So any of our seniors right now, if you're a senior, your portal will be updated with like, hey, you submitted, and check that regularly, right? Because you don't want to not have the opportunity to do it. It's gonna have in your portal, hey, you are able to do, you're eligible to do UC Augmented Review. Do you want to do it? The answer is yes, right? You do not want to do it. You definitely want to do the augmented review itself. It says it's optional. It's not optional. There's a reason why you got it, is the thing, okay? So if you do get it, so now this is like this is the if now, right? If you do get it, they're gonna ask for 3 things, right? The first thing they're gonna ask for is 7 semester grades, which is basically senior year for fall semester grades, right? Number 2 is gonna be an essay of some form, a written response essay, right? And number 3, they're gonna ask for 2 letters of recommendations as well, too, right? So these are the 3 kind of categories, that the 3 things that they're gonna be asking you there. Keep in mind, if you don't get this, it's not a bad thing either, because if you don't get it, that means you're either gonna be the yes pile, or you're in the no pile, or you're also maybe. Not every maybe will get this. So this is a hard topic, because it's like not everyone will get this, but those of you who will get this, now you know what to do, right? So that's that. Let's talk about each of these 3 things and how to maximize each of these as well, too. Okay. So the first part right here is 7 semester grades, right? So when it comes to the 7 semester grades, it's basically fall semester. There's a reason why we tell our coaching students, hey, don't give up yet. Like, I know senior rise is kicking in. Don't see it's kicking in hard. At the very least, fall semester, go like push yourself a little bit to make sure you do really, really well, because if you get this. And keep in mind, if you're applying to private schools, because I know not everyone's applying to just UCs. A lot of you guys are applying to the private schools also. Private schools will ask for 7 semester grades, so keep that in mind. But UCs, they may, so keep that in mind as well too, right? Coach Victor, any tips you have for any seniors right now, or any students in general? We're actually doing a more in-depth training tomorrow on like how to prepare for finals. But any kind of tips when it comes to like academics help students kind of finish strong with this last semester here?
Yeah. So really don't discount senior year. Senior year, you still want to demonstrate academic rigor. One of the things that we always tell everyone that you might have heard from us before is that what they want to know is not just about can you get into our college, but can you actually graduate on time? So if you are joining like late in around 11th grade, you probably have learned about our dual enrollment strategy, for example, right? Still consider to increase your academic rigor by taking those dual enrollment courses because they are already at the college level. And again, in terms of like the courses that you want to take, the goal here is to work smarter, not harder. And we want to take the courses that have easy professors or easy instructors. So we typically tell our students like go to ratemyprofessors.com, look for the professors that are easy, and that's the ones that you want to have on your schedule because one, it shows that you have the academic rigor, and also second, you don't have to like push as hard for like the typical AP courses that you know that are very, very difficult to accomplish at your school. Uh, Coach Tony, any thoughts there?
That's great. Definitely love that. Again, keep in mind, senior is still very important as well too, right? So again, for seniors, you probably already submitted, so nothing else we can do on our apps. But for a lot of our, like this is because in the chat we have a lot of younger folks as well too, like 11th, 10th, and 9th and 8th graders, even some 7th graders as well too. The big thing here, senior year still matters. People always think, oh, 9th grade doesn't matter, 12th grade doesn't matter. It's a lie. The readers do see 9th grade. Readers do see 12th grade, right? 9th grade, people, you might think it doesn't because the UC GP doesn't calculate it. But as a reader, I still see 9th grade. I still see your grades. I still see your classes. 12th grade, I may not see your grades, right? Again, unless you get the augmented review where I will. But for law students, I won't see it. So I'm only predicting your senior year strictly off of the rigor of your schedule. So that the strategy that Coach Victor recommended of dual enrollment is one of those really awesome strategies. Also, we're big fans of how making sure students enjoy senior year too. Again, they're only going to be a senior in high school once. So definitely enjoy, but how do we do it? Well, keeping everything high, right? So we're big on balance. So how do we keep senior year awesome at the same time still keep the rigor high? Again, could you take all APs? You can, but is there a smarter way to do it? I think so as well too, right? So that is the academics. Make sure you're doing well there. Again, we are doing a training on finals prep. If you guys want to join us tomorrow for that training there, okay? The essay, right? So this is the next part as well too. So the essay is pretty broad. It's usually like anything else you want to share with us as well too. But the biggest tips is literally do everything we've taught you guys about how to write the PIQs and the personal statements, all this as well too. Coach Victor, can you share some tips when it comes like this, and in quotes, right? In quotes, the essay. Like if how should a student go about this here, this section?
Yeah. So first off, don't have overlapping topics or information. If you already talked about something in your PIQs or your personal statement in the past, you really don't need to reiterate it. There's no value there, right? Something to take a step back on, right, is think, why did they not accept you? Like, what about it? Like, imagine you're the admission reader, right? Why are you a maybe, right? And if you don't know, then that's where you can talk to us, and then we can try to evaluate and have a better sense of that because they have something in question, whether it's about, hey, I don't think that you can handle the academic rigor, or hey,
Mm,
I don't think you have a strong like kind of activities in terms of what you're doing on a day-to-day basis, or hey, I don't think you really understand why you even want to major in this particular like pathway. And so all those different things, you have to first take a step back and understand why are you a maybe pile, okay? And then from there, that's where the strategy comes in, and that's where you can talk about anything else that is not already covered in your application. Something as like another tip too that you can consider is that let's say you're taking certain classes or dual enrollment classes in the 7th semester, right? You can actually talk about like let's assume that maybe the reason why you didn't get accepted is because you don't have enough academic rigor on your schedule for, I don't know, math because you're applying to engineering and then you only have are in the process of finishing calculus AB, for example, right? So you can use the essay to talk about how you're taking initiative on like your academics and that you're taking these courses because you want to get ahead and that you recognize and understand the value of having strong math skills, for example, right? So try to use that to your advantage if that's what you think is lacking in your profile. Uh, Coach Tony, any thoughts here?
No, I think you hit it. The main thing I was gonna say also is this one. That's probably the golden rule, right? Do not overlap the same information. Again, there's a reason why it wasn't a yes already, or who knows, right? But it wasn't a good. The reason you're getting it is they still need more information. A big mistake I used to, and to kind of spoilers a little bit behind the scenes, don't tell the public, right? Is that the first reader is the one who's gonna recommend this. The second reader is the one who's going to see these answers. So keep that in mind as well too. Okay. So there's a reason why the first reader felt that they needed more information. So the second reader has more information and they're going to read it together, meaning they're going to reread your app, then read the additional things, right? So if you're saying the same thing as a reader, I'm like, it's not bad. Okay, don't. Okay, it's not bad. It's we call it a missed opportunity. Man, you could have done something else, but I just learned more about that thing that you told me, right? So it has to be new information. Something else you mentioned, I thought was really good. That's pretty much it. Share new information. And then in terms of like general writing tips for you guys as well too, it's a narrative, right? It's not an essay. I put it in quotes multiple times, right? So it's not a typical essay. Don't use a hook. Don't use an intro paragraph. Don't use a conclusion paragraph. You don't need to summarize. You want to get straight to the point and just answer the question. The best way is if you talk to me, if I ask you a question like, hey, what makes you special? And you just tell me, oh, I'm special because boom, boom, boom. That's literally how you want to write it because that's how the readers are going to read it as well too, right? We don't need the extra words because again, there is a word limit. I forget the word limit, but it's limited on here, so you don't can't talk forever there. Okay, so that's the big tips here when it comes to the essay component. The last piece we did a training on this a little earlier, so a lot of the tips actually apply. But Coach Victor, they are able to do 2 layers of recommendation. Any tips you have here for their layers of recommendation?
Yeah, yeah. And so this is kind of interesting too because I it could be a little bit different for graduate school because I used to teach a class about how to get into graduate school. So actually kind of curious with Coach Tony what the recommendation and how it might differ
Yeah.
here. But at least for the graduate school and for those who are considering the future, usually we always recommend two kind of letter recs, one from your professional and one from your academics. And the way that we kind of think about it is like your professional is the kind of uh like the the particular subject that you're interested in like majoring in or the like what you want to study and like how they can talk about your interest and your drive to be able to go into this particular field and have an expertise on it. The second part is the academics, and that's more about like your kind of grit and like your effort to kind of do your studies. And so think of this as like your teacher or instructor or somebody who like really understands you and knows you well about your study tips and strategies. The professional one might not be as relevant, at least for the undergrad in this case. But
Mhm.
curious, Coach Tony, about your thoughts on this sense.
Everything you said was spot on as well. So yeah, so a lot of high school students may have this, right? I'm not saying you can't do it. You may have the professional, but as a high school student, you don't have a lot of life years yet, right? So you don't know really what you're doing. And again, we tell our students, we always say, when you're telling me a major is high school, you're probably lying to me because you probably aren't going to graduate with that. Statistically, I think 80% of students switch majors at least one time because you haven't even taken a major class yet in high school. In high school, you're doing your basic classes, your maths, history, science, those classes there. In college is when you're taking the major classes. That's when you know kind of this is what I want to do in the future. So could it be professional? It could, but I think the big thing you mentioned here is here. People who understands you and knows you well. That's probably the most important thing. A lot of our students try like, I have this professor with his fancy name on them. And I'm like, who's that? And they're like, oh my God, you don't know who so-and-so is? I'm like, no. And if I don't know, most readers don't know either. So don't feel like you have to name drop a fancy title. If you did an internship and you talk to the CEO one time, oh my God, they're the CEO of someone. Let me write that. No, it's not going to play a big role. The most important thing is having someone who understands you and knows you well. Now, here's the fun caveat with this. Keep in mind, the reason why you're getting the augmented review is everything you shared so far isn't like fully pushing yes or no yet. So the most important thing, in addition to them knowing you well, the letters need to tell you new information, right? New information. This is where, when I was a second reader for a lot of students, this is where a lot of students, I had to push them to a no pile because, again, they were awesome students. Not saying they were bad students, they were amazing students. But reading their essays, reading their letters, I learned nothing new. And if I learned nothing new about you, you know how many other students are super strong that are competing against you? Again, schools like LA have over 170,000 people. I don't think you guys understand how big that is, right? 170,000 people applying for only like 7,000 spots. That's a itty bitty, right? A little bit. So the most important thing is going to be sharing new information to the reader. Coach Victor, I saw you say you write a question. How do you ask? You want to go ahead and take that?
Yeah. So I think what you put was a really good thought because for the most part, a lot of students don't really get to read their letter of recommendation, right? Sometimes they go up to a teacher or something and they're just like, "Hey, can you write me a letter of rec?" And they might say yes, which is cool, but like what is it that you want them to share, right? Because it could be a little bit troublesome, right? Because what if it's a really bad letter of recommendation? How would you know, right? If you don't give them enough information. So one of the things is not just about the relationship that you have with them, right? But it's about being able to kind of have confidence that they can speak highly of you. And so one of the things that you can always do is just to connect with them and be like, hey, I got this augmented review. I have to submit like additional information. I would really love your support if you wouldn't mind like writing this letter of recommendation because I feel like you know me so well in comparison to the other staff at this school. And I was hoping if it's okay with you that uh, there are you can highlight about X, Y, and Z about on my application because I think that's the reason why I didn't get in, right? So you see what I did there? It's one, being able to get them on your team by saying like, hey, can we do this together? And then second, being able to share to them why you think you didn't get in. And then thirdly, you're providing some recommendations about what is it that they could write about. Because as a person who wrote letter recs in the past, right? It's really hard to write about students when you don't really know where to start. And so sometimes just even having bullet points of just like a list of things can be super helpful for the person writing a letter of recommendation. Because for the most part, they have to write an essay too, and they're gonna have a hard time writing these kind of these letters. And so just make their life easier, make their job easier. And so try your best to be able to demonstrate what are the kind of key points you want to touch upon. Coach Tony, any thoughts there?
I love that. I actually I used to write a lot of letters direct too. I stopped because all my students all gone to med school because of my letters, and I don't want to break the streak. So I'm retiring early, so my it's 100% med school acceptance rate. But no, 100% what you mentioned. Give the reader that you're. A lot of people think that, oh, that's weird. I'm telling them what to write. No, they appreciate it. As a person who writes recommendation letters in the past, dude, I loved it when students told me, hey, can you talk about this as well too? Because again, I'm already gonna share my stuff anyways, right? So I'm not gonna copy and paste it, right? Some of you guys readers or recommenders might, but at least for me, at least, I'm gonna take what you have and incorporate with what I'm gonna do anyways in it. And again, that way, again, one of the things we tell a lot of students is that the admissions process is so unpredictable, right? There's so many things that can go wrong for you. So the more you can control, that's why again we're really big on, hey, let's make sure the academics is the way this way, the activities are this way, the essays are this way, because we want to leave little up to like fate is what I would say, right? The reason why we tell our coaching students to write the way they do, and then guys like, wait, this is opposite what I learned in school. Because yes, that as a reader, this is what I was trained to look for. Let's do exactly that. Because again, what it's like understanding how to play a game. If you learn how the game works, you play it to the maximum potential. Well, that's why we do these trainings for you guys, right? Here's what as a reader I am taught to look for in the back end. So as long as you do that, you're good. A lot of you guys are just making things up, or like, oh, your neighbor says this, your counselor says that as well too, right? Trust it from a proven source. Again, if you don't want to, feel free. It's free world, right? But the biggest thing here, again, you want to control exactly what resurrect. That's another variable. Again, you had control over your grades, you had control over your essays. Now you also want to have control over your resurrects as well too. And again, to one up what Coach Victor said, what you have two letters, right? Two, and some again, those of you who are applying in private schools, for any seniors now, when you work on scholarship essays, they might ask you for letters of rec. For any of our juniors and below, when you guys are applying to college, right? Pro tip: do this. Tell each recommender different things, right? Because if you're telling everyone, hey, Coach Victor, can you talk about how I did this X thing? Hey, Johnny, can you talk how I did this X thing? They're all going to share the same X thing, right? And that tells me again nothing new. Like, it's fine, missed opportunity, right? So each person try to do different things about you, so they can again. Are they going to write it every single time? Who knows, right? But it's a good chance they will write that there. And again, one more thing, they're going to ask you, do you waive your right to read the letters? The answer is always, always yes. You always waive your right to read it, meaning it means you're not going to read it. Because some schools will say if you don't waive your right, you'll see the letter before it gets sent. Don't do that. Again, why do you want to see? It's kind of fishy. Is all there too. Okay. I think it's pretty much it. So the reason why you get it in December, just to give you guys some context, I think that kind of makes sense now. The reason why you get December is the faster the first reader reads your app and they're stuck. They're like, ah man, I don't know. Are they this? Are they that? There's a few other things that I probably can't share. Also, I got really in trouble, right? There's a few things we can mark on the app that shows like, hey, yeah, this student should get the augmented review as well too. And then you'll get this early in December. So keep your eye on your portal, see if there's anything you need to do. And if you so, they'll give you a deadline. Again, it's optional. Definitely try to hit it by the deadline as so it's read by the second reader, so they'll get all this new information with you because that might be the thing pushing you to it. Yes, and I think Coach Victor, you want to share some? I know you were a student that actually went through this exact process yourself when you went to college as well too.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember way back in the day. Let's see, because high school graduation year was like 2011 during that time. So it was different way back then.
Hmm.
Where the actual fun fact for those who didn't know, the letter of recommendations was actually required back then originally with your
Correct.
original application.
Hmm.
And also we didn't have PIQs back then, but at least during the kind of follow-up time, right? They did ask me to like submit it. I got it for UCLA and I got it for Berkeley. I was very gun-ho about Berkeley, and so I ended up not doing the UCLA one. I actually got rejected from UCLA because of that. But something I want to encourage is that, or to think about is if you do get the additional augmented review, that's a good thing. That's a good sign, and that's something to be proud about because that means that you're not an immediate no. That means that they see something in you and you have the chance to be able to showcase yourself. And so during this time, right, it what it's in addition to all the strategies that we already kind of mentioned, the main thing I was trying to focus on, at least during this time, was what additional information can I share that I haven't been able to just yet. And so, for example, some of the things that I talked about was like about my part-time job that I had to work while in senior year and junior year in my like role like supporting the family or something. These are things that I didn't necessarily go deep into what in regards to like my application, but it shared a different side of me, right? Yes, you could talk about all the great, amazing activities that you did, but there's also some parts of it in terms of whether that's your struggle that you went through or what are the additional kinds of uh, personal branding elements that you haven't been able to talk about. So in the PIQs, right, typically what we always tell our students is like, think of your personal branding. What are the four different elements of yourself that you want to highlight, right? Maybe one is about your major, maybe another is about one of your activities, maybe a third is about another activity, fourth is, I don't know, something personal for you. It doesn't really matter. But what in this case, right? What is that other sorts of things that you haven't been able to explain yet? If you're super involved like me back in high school, maybe that you could talk about all your other types of activity that you were involved in.
Hmm.
Or if you haven't got a chance to talk about your role in your family or your role in your community in any way, then that's another opportunity as well. In regards to my letter Rex, like way back in the day as well, if I do recall correctly, it's I remember talking to like my principal and also a teacher, right? So the principal and the teacher were highlighting two different aspects, as I mentioned. The teacher is really focused about the kind of my academic studies. It was my stats teacher, if I recall correctly, that wrote that. And then the principal was the one that was like a part of all the leadership experiences and kind of understood all that. During that time, I was like the was it ASB president or something where I did a lot of activities. And so I was able to highlight one part about my activities with the letter rec and also about my study habits and like how they saw me perform in that classroom. So again, right, trying to show all different facets of yourself because in reality, all of us were like 100 dimensions. There's no like four. It's kind of hard to really limit yourself to just four different like personal branding elements to yourself. So just think about what are the different things that you haven't been able to share just yet. So there's that.
Awesome. I have a question for me. Were you a stats major?
I was not a stats major.
Oh,
I was
interesting.
I was actually a pre-business. I was a business major actually.
Business major. Again, so I think I was hoping for an answer like no, because the reason why is again, a lot of you guys think another big misnomer. Oh, it has to be from this type of teacher, unless it tells you unless if it says, hey, we want to hear from a math teacher and an English teacher. It's whoever. I think Coach Victor in that scenario, his stats teacher knew him best, or he
Hmm.
felt his stats teacher knew him the most. So that would be the best choice for you. Again, if I'm assuming if they say Coach Victor, or probably not Coach Victor, Victor back in the day, right? Hey, we want a math teacher and an English teacher, that will adjust how he picks the person, right? But keep in mind, a lot of schools out there, a lot of like, seniors, you're going through most of it. Some of you guys are doing a regular decision that's like due in January, February. A lot of those schools will restrict you. Hey, we want a math teacher, an English teacher, and your choice, right? Then you get to pick math teacher, English teacher, your choice, right? So keep that in mind too. Okay. Awesome. Fantastic. Before we have a bunch of questions here. Thank you, everyone. Hope was that a good training, guys? Guys, like it? Let me know in the chat. Was that good? It was fun. Let me know in the chat. Before we dive into Q&A, one more time. If you guys are interested in booking a free 15-minute call, if you guys want to chat with Coach Val, there you go. The little thumbs up and little hearts. Love it. If you guys are interested in booking a call, if you guys want to chat, actually, you want to chat with Coach Victor, go ahead and shop the word Victor to 949-298-6234 is the reason why he's one of our top advisors for our families. Again, he just wants to give to all our families here. Just text the word Victor to 949-298-6234. He also mentioned earlier, I don't know if you guys kind of caught it, but about personal branding. In fact, last week we actually did a training on branding. He actually led us a really good training. I think it's good for pretty much all the grades because even seniors is not just college, right? You're going life skills after that. So it's a really good thing to kind of help you stand out amongst everyone through like a resume. So if you guys want the branding one, text the word branding. I'll have our team send it out to you, the replay of that training. I think it was last Tuesday we did it as well too. So it's a really good training, good for all grades, even parents, by the way, too. Some parents have actually emailed me and said it was a really good training for them. So definitely, if you guys need that, text the word branding. And if you have my notes for today, text the word notes to 949-298-6234. All right, let's go ahead and dive into some Q&A questions for today as well. So first one. When will students be notified to send letters of recommendations, specifically Berkeley, right? So Berkeley again is gonna be again if you Berkeley no caveat. Not every school does augmented review. So that's a little teaser there also. So not every school does it. I know LA does it. I know Berkeley does it. I know a few other UCs do it as well too. And again, if you do get it, not everyone will. If you do, you'll start hearing back this month in December if you're watching this live and then or latest January. It probably won't be after that because all the apps, you guys a little preview, all the apps get read multiple times behind the scenes. And again, can you imagine 150,000 applications? How long would it take for you to read that many apps multiple times, then go to the committee to make the official decision? That's why it won't go too long after that. By December, by now, this month, I would say, all the apps will be read at least one time. So every single student applied by this month, mid-month, end month, all the apps will be read at least one time. That's when you get the opportunity to do a augmented review. Then all the rest of the apps will be read again, January, February, early February. That's when, by the way, regions will find out regions by the time as well too. And then after that, they do go through the official committee. The committee is going to be the one who like makes it official. So if the readers say yes, yes, yes to your app, you're probably going to get a yes. If you're the reader say no, 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 you're probably going to get no. So that's kind of how it works behind the scenes there. Okay. Um, when did they start calling students off the wait list? Really awesome question as well, too. So, like Coach Victor mentioned earlier, that you'll find out about getting in and out in March, right? For UC specifically, right? There's something called the melt. It's a really fun, unique concept called the melt. Is that let's say the school wants to admit 7,000 students, which is true. The UCs want to admit 7,000-ish students. You're not gonna send out 7,000 yeses because what's gonna happen? Kids who get into the UC schools are probably gonna get into other schools as well too, right? So kids who applied, like Coach Victor, right? He got to LA, he applied to LA, he applied to Berkeley, probably applied to a few other schools. I applied to a few other schools as well too. So we got yeses from multiple schools. Doesn't mean I want to go there. What the schools want to do is they want to over say yes to some people first, knowing that not everyone's gonna say yes to them. And that little break is called the melt. Right? That's what the melt is called. So they, let's say, for example, this is not the real numbers, but example, they say yes to 10,000, knowing, right, around 6,000 will say yes. At the same time, they're also going to send that wait list to people who got a yes, but wasn't in that first pile of students. Then you see they want to admit 7,000. They have 6,000 yeses. They have 1,000 students. Again, these are all made up numbers, by the way. These 1,000 students can be off the wait list and they just go off. And that's random. There is something. That's the one area I've asked some of my reader friends and some of my admission friends. It's a really weird area of admissions where not a lot of people are involved in the waitlist process. Because some of my friends who are associate directors, they don't even know how the waitlist process actually works either. But people got the waitlist that way, and then once they hit their capacity, they're done. What schools want to avoid? Coach Victor, I don't remember this story a few years ago. They over said yes. They said yes to too many students. Like this is a big thing that happened at Berkeley. They said yes to too many people, and not enough people said no to Berkeley. As a result of that, they over enrolled, and that's the year they turned all their study rooms into quads, so rooms of 4 kids. It was one of those crazy stories, and that's why, by the way, little teasers. Those guys have been following around the admissions process. That's why they do more waitlist nowadays. Like this past year had the most amount of waitlist that we've seen. A lot of our kids got off really fast though, but their schools are more conservative this year. I was like, let's say yes to enough, and then if they say no, let's get people off the wait list as well too. There, that's kind of the process here. There, okay. Any other questions you see in the chat, Coach Victor?
Yeah. So, in terms of if you do need the notes, remember to text these numbers on the screen right here. I know some folks are asking about that multiple times, so don't worry too much about that.
Yeah.
Uh,
Keep in
and
mind
you'll
to
get it.
text us, not Zoom chat. I always see Zoom
Yeah.
chats there as well too. So make sure you text us. Once we close the room in like 5 minutes from now, we won't have access to the Zoom chat anymore. So
Yeah.
message us these keywords. Victor, if you want to book a free call with him. Branding, if you guys want to grab a replay from last week about the Coach Victor's personal branding call, and then notes if you want notes to this call right here.
Yep. And answering some other few quick questions. Do schools outside of UCs have augmented processes as well? More than likely, that's a yes, just because each school system is a little bit different, but for the most part, they might have like the supplemental kind of like follow-up here.
Correct. There's no blanket statement per se, right? It's more of like a school by school kind of basis.
Mhm. What if no college replies back with this? That means you're either in the yes or the no. So you can
Yeah.
interpret it as a really good thing, or you can interpret it as a anxiety-inducing thing. I
Here,
would say try to think of it as maybe a good thing.
Yeah, I'm assuming you're asking to, it's anonymous. I don't know who it is, but so I'm assuming you're asking, what if no schools do the augment review, or there's no schools who say yes or no? So augment review again, like Coach Vic says, good or bad, right? I always assume it's a good thing for there, because most of our students, by the way, for context, most of our coaching students don't get it, right? We do have a few every year, but most of our students don't get it, and they'll turn out fine. So I don't really stress out about that. If your question is, what if the schools don't let you know? So it's a little different. Back in the day, I don't know, Coach Victor, was for you, but for me, I had to actually get a physical letter in the mail to know, hey, I got in or I didn't. Because snail mail, your mail get lost and all this stuff. Today's world, everything is digital. All the students right now who just apply seniors, you can log in right now and you'll see that you submitted your app right away. And then it'll keep you updated nonstop. It'll email you nonstop. So there wouldn't be an opportunity where you don't know. They will tell you yes or no by April 1st. Like that's the last day of like notification. By April 1st, Every school, a lot of Ivies, by the way, will notify you on April 1st. Yes, no, on that day to like they like to ultimate wait to the very end. Those schools there, so they will let you know. A little off topic, a little fun fact for seniors: if you actually go back to your portal this week, like 'cause a lot of you guys submitted, I think recently, so you go back this week, you'll see also a lot of you guys are asking about ELC. ELC is a California thing. If you're top 9% of the state or top 9% of your high school, it's gonna mark ELC on your app. If you log back into your portal this week or next week, it'll say that if you are or not. If you are, you'll see it. If you're not, you won't see it. That's all. And keep in mind that the readers will see that as well too.
Yep. There's another question here. What if the teacher who knows you the best, you get a B in their class? That's totally fine. I think maybe the question that you might want to ask them ahead of time is, do you feel comfortable to write good about me? Or like maybe not those exact words, but like, do you feel comfortable and confident to talk about my like skills and experiences on these letters of recommendations? Because something that you want to make sure that you avoid is asking someone who doesn't want to do it.
Mhm.
And it might not be the case that they don't want to do it because they don't like you per se, but it's maybe because they maybe know you too well that it's a little bit too difficult to highlight the specific things that you want them to highlight about. So that's just something to consider, right? Trying to be able to understand their level of comfort to be able to work with you and support you. And you can always like give them the option of like, hey, like I know there's a huge request. It's totally okay if you don't feel comfortable to,
Mhm.
because you rather have someone who feels confident and willing as opposed to someone that's like a maybe I guess I can do it kind of thing,
Mhm.
because that means that they might not try as hard. Coach Tony?
I love it. Also, to whoever asked the question, B is not a bad grade, by the way. So let's normalize B's being good grades as well too. Of course, if you're aiming for the more competitive schools, you want more A's than B's, of course. But again, one B is not gonna hurt you, not gonna kill you either. So don't stress out about that. Again, it's again like Coach Victor's mentioned. I think me thinking back in my high school, my best teacher, if I have to go back and ask them, it would be someone because I got B's in actually, because they knew me a lot more than just like the academics, right? The A people got me A's, they know I'm smart, right? But it's the people who saw me like struggle and do bounce back. I think that's the ones that I think I would have asked because they saw my journey more and they knew me more and I knew them more as well too. So that's what they were harder on me also. So it's one of those things. So again, the idea of B is not a bad grade, but again, like exactly what Coach Victor said. Again, ask them, right? Again, you're not forcing them to do it. They don't have to say yes to you, but just ask them, and if they truly want to, they will want to help you out there.
Awesome. Uh, Also, there's a question about the replays as well. Don't worry, we always record our replays and then we always allow folks to be able to access it. So just keep a lookout for a message or an email blast where you could be able to like get access to that. Is
Yeah,
that right?
if you guys, yeah, if you guys opted into this call, you guys should get it automatically once it's done recording. If you guys don't have it yet, you can text the word notes and replay as well too. And then our team can send you the replay. It takes like 24 hours for us to render it and do all the fun things that we do to it. Just text the word replay again to us so we can send you the replay if you miss it. For our coaching families, it'll be up in the inside Discord within the next week as well too.
Yeah. Let's see. There's also a question. I actually don't know this question or answer to this, but Coach Tony might. Can we update the app if we decide to take dual enrollment course in the spring but didn't put it in the application?
That's a great question. No, you cannot change your UC app. So once you click submit, that's it, right? You keep UCs don't allow you to go back and change anything. So it's one of those like that's why if you notice when you guys submitted, there was like five, are you sure? Are you sure? Are you like five times? Because they want to make sure because once you click submit, there's nothing else you can do with that. So the answer is no. What you could do though, so here's something you could do, right? You can't go back and change it. But theoretically, if you did do dual enrollment, that's something that I would share to schools. I would do it. I would send an email to the admissions of each school to let them know, hey, I'm doing this as well. They're gonna say, got it, thank you. Uh, how much they're gonna do with that, that's up to them. Every school's a little different. Some schools will like really treat it and adjust your app. Some schools will say, oh, got like LA and Berkeley, they get too many apps. They'll say, got it, and they'll just like leave it there because it'll just be too. Imagine the number of emails they get per day this season, right? So they probably won't go through every single thing. They got it. So they'll, in case like, again, because at the end of the day, when you're in June, they're gonna cross-check your grades and your transcript to make sure it's correct. Like, whoa, where did this class come from? You have an email proof that you did email them, say, hey, I did this. How much impact does that play? Again, I wouldn't say as significant. So just keep it on my bug, and I would email them just to let them aware of. Right. I think we have like time for
Awesome.
one more question, Coach Victor.
Yeah, and I think generally there's some questions about is it okay to talk about my identity as LGBTQ and also about overcoming my disability.
Mhm.
Anything identity related is totally fine to talk about in terms
Yes.
of these letter recommendations and also these like supplement the augmented review. If you feel that's important to you, you should talk about it, right? And that's just like you want to be real about who you are and like why does it matter to you.
And I
Coach
think
Tony?
that's the key word there. Why, right? Again, the what is kind of irrelevant, right? The what can I talk about? Sure. Anything, any topic our student has told us, can I talk about this topic? Sure. Right? Because it doesn't really matter to us. Sure, talk about that. The thing that we're trying to pull from though is why. Why do you want to include your identity? Why has that made you who you are? That's the key. And if you've heard us talk about the essays a lot, right? That's broken record. That's the key of all this. It's not the what. The identity is cool. A lot of people are kind of similar identities. So what makes you different is how is that identity or that experience, the activity, that whatever it is, has affected, made you who you are today. That's the key. Same thing the Les Rec. Make sure they address that why as well. Okay,
Mhm.
cool. With that, thank you, Coach Victor, for joining me. Again, you guys like enjoy it. Let me know in the chat as well too. But again, final call. If you guys are interested in booking a free 15-minute call with Coach Victor, text the word Victor. Here, if you guys want Coach Victor's branding, I think it was, we called the training like how to stand out, or I think something like that. Text the word branding to our number as well too. And if you guys want the notes or replay, text us again. If you opted into this, you will get the replay automatically once it's ready. But for everyone else, text the number. Our team will grab it for you as well. Okay. That being said, thank you, Aaron, for joining us, and I'll see everyone on the next call.